I met Brian, who trained Ronnie and trained this guy Mark, and he eventually trained me. And I went in, I met him, and Mark said, "Hey, I'm gonna train this kid for a competition this summer." And I met Brian. I said, "Man, I don't have money for a membership." I said, "Man, there's somebody I can work out with you." And he was real honest. He said, "You know what, kid?" He said, "If you train here every day, you represent my gym, and you win," he goes, "I want to charge you a membership." He said, "If you don't win," he goes, "you can come in every night, help me close up, and help me clean up the gym at night, work for me." He shook my hand, and that was 20 years ago this year, and I've never bought a membership, and I'm still training at the same gym. So Brian's become one of my probably best friends, and we are business partners now. He still trains me. He trained me for the Arnold this past year, and it's been a blessing. So I trained for that first show, and I won it, and I kept on winning as a teenager. And at that point, I bodybuilded because it was fun. You look good. You have abs. You walk around. You look better than all the other kids in school. So you're like, all right, this is cool. So but I still hadn't decided at that point this is what I wanted to do. So when I was 18 years old, I just graduated high school, and I was training for the Teenage Nationals, and that's like the top teenage show in the United States. Well, I went to that show, and there's a kid by the name of Jay Cutler in the heavyweights. I was a light heavyweight. Another kid named Eddie Caprice Murray in the middleweights. Another kid named Ronnie St. Cloud who got second in the middleweights, and another guy named Jeff Willett. All those guys eventually went on to turn pro, and I won the overall. I beat Jay out just because I was harder than him. I think Jay weighed like 220 as a teenager. He was ridiculous. And, so that was at that point. That's when I decided, this is something I'm going to do, and continue on. So very wisely, Brian encouraged me to put bodybuilding on hold and go to school, get education. And because I was a young meathead, I'm thinking, man, I'm just going to bodybuild, man, and be a pro bodybuilder. And Ronnie had just turned pro. He wasn't doing good yet, but he had turned pro, and so I thought that's what I wanted to do. And but I listened to him, and so I went to school. I had to work my way through school. I worked 3 jobs, and to get through college. And so there was about 4, almost 5 years there I didn't compete. But during that time frame, Brian turned me on to powerlifting. So I started doing powerlifting, power bodybuilding, and there was times when I could only work out maybe 3 days a week, but I still trained super heavy, and I did a lot of powerlifting meets during that time, because anyone who's done powerlifting and bodybuilding, they're both hard. Bodybuilding is more time consuming because you've got nutrition, you've got the cardio, you've got the posing, you've got all the other stuff that goes along with it. Powerlifting, I could go in the gym, I could train and be done. And I didn't have the time to work in 3 jobs and go to school full time. I didn't have the time to devote, to do everything else. So that's where during that period of time is when I really built my base and foundation for that dense, hard muscle that I'm known for now. So it actually turned out to be a blessing in the long run, doing what I did. I got done, finally got out of school, and when I was going to school, man, I did everything you can think of, man. I drove a delivery truck, I bounced at a nightclub on the weekends, I personal trained, and I did whatever I had to do to support myself and get through school. And I was just glad when I got through, and I was like, man, life's got to get better than this. And it did, thank God. But I got out, and I started getting ready for a bodybuilding competition. I won the Southwest USA when I was 24. Then I followed that up the next year. I went to the USA, which in America, you have 2 contests you can turn pro in. You have to win the overall at the USA, or you have to win your weight class at the Nationals. And that's the only 2 avenues as an American you have to turn pro. So I went to the USA, and my first year I got 3rd place in the heavyweights. And I went on, I immediately came home, took a little time off, a couple weeks off, and started training for the Nationals. And the day before Christmas Eve, in 2000, I tore my bicep off the bone, my right bicep. It was our gym is Metroflex is pretty primitive. There's no air conditioning in Texas. If anybody's ever been there in the summer, knows how hot it gets. So and in the wintertime, it does get cold, and we have like 1 heater, if you want to call it that it works sometimes when it wants to. So it can be pretty cold in there too. So this is one of the days when the heater was on vacation, and it was real cold, and it was my fault, You live and learn. I was going too heavy. My arms were my weak point, arms and shoulders, back then especially. And I was trying to bring my arms up, so I was going super heavy, trying to curl like 275 on the barbell curl. And using bad form, and my right bicep just snapped like a rubber band. And I went to grab my arm, and my bicep wasn't there, man. It was up here by my shoulder. And my first thought was, oh shit, I just ended my career before it even got started. And but my surgeon, who worked out at the gym, that was the first time he saved me. He saved me 3 times since then, including this year. And we called him from the gym, and he told me to come into the office. And I went to the office. He examined me, did X-ray, MRI. He said, "What are you doing after Christmas?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Well, I have surgery the day after Christmas that morning." So 2 days later, I had it reattached, and once I got healed up, I went to work, trained for the Nationals, and 8 months later, I came into the Nationals 18 pounds heavier, and got my pro card. And another guy named Johnny Jackson, who was my workout partner, he turned pro that same night. He won the light heavyweights, I won the heavyweights, and Johnny won the overall, and that's the last time he beat me, by the way. I remind him that all the time. And we both turned pro the same night, man, so that was a pretty cool night, man. Both really workout partner, and you both get your pro card on the same night, man, so that was a pretty cool accomplishment. And he jumped right into the pros and started competing. I was very realistic with my physique. I was bottom heavy. My upper body had come up tremendously, because the whole time I trained for the Nationals that year, I didn't train legs at all. And I just trained upper body. So that 18 pounds I gained was pretty much all on upper body, but I still felt my shoulders and arms needed to come up more to compete successfully as a pro. So I took 2 years off competing as a pro. During that time frame, I opened up my own business, opened up my own gym, and got that going, and I just kept training. And I basically kind of adopted the same philosophy I had training for the Nationals. I'll do legs once a month. The rest of the time I spend focusing on my body. I really focus on my shoulders, because if you got these great quads, you have narrow shoulders, you look like a pear that don't look good on stage. So I focus on my shoulders, bringing my shoulders up, and I focus on my arms to bring them up. And so when I finally competed, it was in 2003. I turned pro in 2001, so my first show was the last year they had the Night of Champions in 2003. And me and Johnny both did that show. I didn't make top 5. I got whatever it was, 7th place or something at that show. And I was just excited I didn't get last place, man, because there was like 40 or 50 some guys in the show that year. And I was like, wow, man, I made top 10 in my first pro show. So I was excited, but at the same point, I'm very competitive. I hate losing. No one hates losing more than me. So of course, as soon as I got off the plane, I went back to the gym and started training that day. And I went for the next show, and I went to the GNC Show of Strength, and I got 4th place at the GNC Show of Strength. And that's the only year that I didn't qualify for the Olympia. The top 3 qualified, for the Olympia back then, and I got 4th, and I didn't qualify, so that pissed me off. And because everybody who's ever bodybuilded, your ultimate goal is to step on stage at the Olympia, and compete at the Olympia. So the next year I trained for the Dallas Europa Pro. So I won my first pro contest in front of my hometown. So my family was there, my friends were there, so that was pretty cool. And Johnny got 2nd at the show, and so that was cool. We battled it out for 1st place, and then 2 weeks later I won my 2nd pro show in Charlotte Pro. And about a month later I went to my first Mr. Olympia competition in Vegas, and I got 8th place in my first Mr. Olympia. And then my career started to take off. I followed that up with a 2nd place finish in 2006 at the Arnold Classic. And Dexter won that year, and I just kept it up, kept it rolling. Since then, 2009 I got 2nd place at in 2008 I got hurt again. I tore a tricep, and I'm sure it means you follow my career. I was at my house. I was about 5 or 6 weeks before the Olympia in 2008, and I was walking down my stairs. We had hardwood floors, and I had my socks on. The phone was ringing, so I'm running down the stairs to catch the phone, and I slipped, and I fell. And when I fell, my arm got caught in one of the banisters. And I fell awkward, and it just ripped my tricep off the bone. And I'm laying there on the stairs going, man, I thought I broke my arm, but it turned out to be a torn tricep tendon. So there's no way I could make the Olympia, so that knocked me out for the year. So when I went to the Olympia, I went anyway for my sponsors, Muscle Tech and everybody, Muscle Development. I was talking to George Farrow, who's another pro, and I didn't know he trained people. And my friend Ed Priso, who was Betty Priso's husband, she's a pro bodybuilder, introduced me, said, hey, George? I said, yeah, I know George. He goes, he trains people. I said, I didn't know that. He goes, man, you ought to talk to him. He's been helping Betty, and he knows nutrition and knows his stuff real well. And I never let anybody help me, really. And Ryan and Mark showed me the basics when I was 16, 17 years old. And I always did my nutrition on my own since then. Brian would train me sometimes, but I always did my own nutrition. And I talked to George for, 6 weeks before I I kept asking him questions. We just had a lot of conversations back and forth, about his philosophy and everything. And so I agreed to let him help me. And so we got ready for the Arnold Classic, and that year in 2008, 2009, whatever it was, and got to third place that year. And he was kind of still learning my body. So we trained for the Olympia in 2009, and he promised me I would do better at the Olympia than I did at the Arnold, and he was right. And I got second place at the Olympia that year. And he had me eat so much food, it was ridiculous. And I actually grew into the diet, which I actually put on muscle training for the show, which was crazy. I've never done that before. And I remember my wife asking me, she goes, "Are you gonna eat all this food?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try." And it was so much food, I had to force feed myself there for a while, on a diet. And but the crazy thing was, I was getting harder and getting bigger. And so he earned my confidence after that. And so that was a blessing, because getting ready for shows is so much easier now. I don't have to think about it. He sends me my program, I just follow it, and I trust him 100%. So I got second place in that year in 2009, went back to the Arnold in 2010, and we got third that year. It was Phil and Kai and myself, and a real close battle. And then went back to Olympia, got third place at the Olympia. It was Jay, me, and Phil that year. And then 2011, I won the Arnold, followed it up with a win in the British Pro. And then, of course, this year, 30 days after the Mr. Olympia, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, doing an appearance. And I walked out of the building, it was raining, and I was walking down a ramp, and I just slipped, man. I'm just laying on the ground, I can't get up. My friend's in the car, like, "Dude, what are you doing? Get up." And I'm like, "I can't." He said, "Get up, man, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I can't." And my leg was twisted behind me, so I reached trying to grab my foot and straighten my leg out. And at that point, I knew what it was. And so I called my doctor once again, and he's like, "What'd you do this time?" And the following Monday after surgery, I was back in the gym. I started training, and I went to the Olympia. And one of the hardest things I've had to do as a pro bodybuilder was sit in the front row at the Olympia this last year. Watch everyone compete, and me not be up there with them. Phil was the only guy that looked good, man. Everybody else was off. Jay was injured, and he missed his mark, and everyone else was a little bit less than 100%, man. So it was very, very frustrating not to be up there battling out with the guys.
It's carbohydrates, so much is protein and how much is fat.
Off season, and I don't really count them. I probably eat more calories pre-contest than I do off season, because when you're, as anybody, if you compete, you can actually eat more food when you're dieting, because it's all clean food, and you're doing cardio and your metabolism speeds, sped up. I probably eat about 6,500 calories a day, give or take, when I'm dieting for a show. Off season is probably a little bit less than that, actually, because you just can't. It's so hard to eat that much food if you're not eating, completely strict, 100% strict. So, like I said, under George's play, it used to be opposite. When I did it the old way, I'd eat more calories in the off season and then cut back when I dieted. But the way I do it now, I eat more calories when I'm dieting for a show. We actually add calories to the diet as I diet. So.
During the diet, how much carbohydrates, how much proteins, how much fat?
Carbohydrates will go between 400 and 1,000 grams a day, and protein stays about 400 grams a day.
So you are switching from day to day?
No, the pretty average. My average carbohydrates can be about 600-700 grams a day. When the last couple of days, I carb up. I might go 1,000 or more to carb up, but sometimes we might cut down if I'm a little behind schedule. 300 or 400, go down to 300 or 400 grams for a few days if I get behind schedule. But it stays up. My carbs stay pretty high.
So you're basically eating the same amount every day on the diet?
Pretty much.
Okay.
My diet this year, I only did 20 minutes a day. So the reason I never do much cardio, probably I've never done more than 30 minutes of cardio since I've been working with George. We only did 20 minutes because of my injury. We didn't want to lose the fullness in the quad, so we did pretty light cardio. My cardio, I have an American Bulldog. I get up every morning at 6 a.m. We walk for 20 minutes, come home, and eat breakfast. So.
How much weight do you gain off season compared to the competition?
I was 245 on stage at the Arnold. And my heaviest, I might be 270, 268, 270. My heaviest. So.
How strict is your diet off season?
It stays pretty strict. When I've been this week I've had a lot of pasta, tomato sauce, chicken, steak. I don't have a sweet tooth, man. I hardly eat anything sweet, any kind of junk food. If I'm gonna have something cheap meal, something bad, it's probably a hamburger, cheeseburger, maybe a pizza or something every now and then. But very, I guest pose almost every weekend. So
What do you say?
I guest pose at competitions.
Oh, yeah, right.
So you gotta keep it reasonable. Plus, when you're out of breath when you tie your shoes, man, that's no fun.
Are you changing your training a lot during the off season?
I'm not trying to
Are
lie.
you see different?
I took 2 weeks off after the Australian Pro, and I just started training last week again. After that show, so I just go by how I feel. If my body feels beat up after I get done with the show and I need to rest, I'll take time off and rest. I've taken as much as a month off, before if I felt like I needed it. I felt good, man. I got done with these shows and my leg feels good, my knee doesn't hurt anymore, and I felt healthy. So after about a week, I was ready to get back in the gym.
But are you doing, for example, for a couple of months, more sets? More
I'm training.
intensity for periods?
I cut the intensity back a little bit and the weight back. Like, the rest of this month, I'm not going to train as heavy or as hard as I normally would. Next month, I'll start kicking up the intensity, kicking up the weights, and start training hard. So I just go by how I feel.
You keep the same system for the whole time, or?
Pretty much.
And you're training around 1 hour, 1.5?
Yeah, it depends on the body part, an hour, hour and a half. Yes?
I heard before you said you don't sleep much every night. Is that forced because you don't have a kid or you have a busy schedule, or you don't do it?
No, it's I've talked to a lot of other guys too. A lot of the pros I compete with, and it's pretty common, man. I don't know what it is, but even the guys and the girls, the bodybuild, when you're dieting, preparing for competition, you can get away with a lot less sleep. I don't know what it is. 5 hours of sleep, and I feel good. I'm not tired. And in the off season, I probably sleep a little bit more than that. But pre-contest, I usually wake up hungry, man. I get up my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. But pre-contest, I'm usually up at 5 or 5:30 just because I'm hungry. So like I said, 5 hours of sleep, and I'm okay.
Bodymag.no.